morning, Spencer. So this morning, this is actually the first time we've really talked today, isn't it?
It
I guess
actually
we're rolling
is,
into the
yeah.
afternoon now. It's not quite morning, but I don't know when you guys are watching this. But if it's morning, good morning. This morning, my daughter, our daughter and I, Astrid, actually went and
Single mother over there.
my daughter, our daughter, we met with some first time buyer clients in this cute little charming town. You could call it, some people might call it whatever. It's called Almsville, where these buyers are buying. I think they're going to be very happy there. They relocated from out of state. They're so excited to finally be homeowners. We've been talking for 3 years. They've been trying to make it work for 3 years. They're on a single income. And I'm so proud of them because they finally were able to make it happen. And they were just so excited, as they should be.
So, like, what was their reactions and stuff? Like, did you go in the home with them? Did you just get the key out of the lockbox? Like, what did it feel like on your end of things, being an observer?
So I got the key out of the lockbox. I got there a little before them, got the key out of the lockbox, brought their gift inside, got it all set up for them, inside their kitchen, like we realtors like to do. And these buyers... I do like to do. It's like my favorite part. I even got their little kids some gifts, and we met them at the house, and they were just so excited. They're going through every room. It's theirs now. And you want to know something cool that they told me?
What?
Okay, so these buyers, they are first time buyers, and this is what we're talking about today, you guys. There isn't going to be a point here, but we're going to actually talk about who is buying right now, and we'll talk about why we're talking about that. But to stick to my story, so these buyers. They relocated here from out of state like 3 years ago. That's when they found me, through my other YouTube channel that I talk about relocating to our area and all of that.
For 3
They've
years.
been living here, renting, waiting to be able to buy. They've been revisiting their conversation with our lender about once a year, saying like, are we ready now? Are we ready now? And this was finally it. They were finally ready. So they were able to make it happen this year. But they actually told me the only reason they moved to Salem is because of my YouTube channel. Because they did not even think of it as somewhere. They came from the Los Angeles area. They didn't know really anything about Salem, don't know anyone here. They were just researching online like different places to live, and my video came up. So it influenced them to now become citizens of Salem. Well, technically Almsville. Isn't that cool?
You're a influencer.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible.
Bringing people to our beautiful state.
I've heard.
I thought that was fun.
I've heard quite a few clients now that we've done this for a longer period of time whenever we ask, like, hey, how'd you want to be here? How did you hear about us, like on our side of the business? And they specifically say, yeah, we were just scrolling on YouTube, and then it came across one of your videos. Maybe it was a reel, maybe it was a long form, like you guys are viewing, and then they kind of just do that initial outreach. And 3 years later, they
made it happen.
I've never talked to this client of yours, which is kind of unusual. Usually I have something to do with it. You do, because we work together. And I will say they are some of the sweetest people. Like, I just genuinely enjoyed working with them so much. Like, I'm actually kind of sad. I'm like, we won't be talking all the time anymore. And that's how I feel about so many of my clients. And I think it's because they come through video marketing, because the people that come through video marketing are just like, I don't know, they're just amazing people. Because I know it's not the case for every agent. Like, that's definitely not always how it is. But my clients that come from YouTube are always people that I'm like genuinely sad when the transaction's over. It seems like the relationship is a lot easier when they come from your platform. It just seems like whether they already know us or something, we always have some type of like common denominator that we can talk about during the showing or throughout the transaction, just so we can be like relatable with one another. Because what a lot of people don't, I don't know if they realize this or not, but there are so many conversations to be had through that escrow process.
Yep.
Like, not only are we constructing an offer for some buyers for the potential home that they want to purchase, but like, we're kind of getting into their business, and so I definitely think there's this like comfort level that you got to have with your client. And when everybody's talking about AI and how it can like change things, I just, of course, like, you can have AI do more administrative, like ad work, stuff like that. But like the actual pick up the phone and call the client with a real sincere question type of stuff, I just don't see happening. There's always going to be a play in real estate for in-person consultation. And I think that's like a really, really big thing. And I think you and I were even talking about it. It was yesterday, wasn't it? And it was like, what did you label our jobs basically as realtors now?
Okay. This is something I really, really believe and feel really strongly about. It
made me think. It did. It made me think about my job.
Because you hear things all the time, especially now that our daughter's beginning to be at the age where, school's a factor, learning all of that. It's like looking at, okay, in 20 years from now, are the same jobs even going to be here? You know what I mean? Like, I think the world, what's a degree going to be? I just think that the world is looking and going to look so different with AI, robots. Like, it's hard to wrap your mind around and believe, but it's true. However, you could say all you want about technology taking over real estate jobs. But I really, really believe at the end of the day, our job as a real estate agent, this is what I've always called myself to my clients. And I'm moving forward. I think this is the main value proposition of a realtor will be your local resource, your guide, your guider, throughout the transaction, throughout the process. Like, that is our job as a realtor, and that value technology and a robot can't replace. Like, obviously there's so many things that can be replaced in the real estate industry, and I think in a lot of ways has made our job easier. We utilize AI to follow up with client leads, to capture leads on our website. Like, there's so many ways that technology, AI, whatever you want to call it, robots have made our business easier and just made it easier to run our business. And
hands down, it's made it a little bit more easier.
Can't replace a human holding your hand, giving you a hug when they meet you at closing, and giving you the keys at the closing table. There's just something. There's just something about it. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Well, for instance, though, sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't. So not every transaction is the same. If you're in this business, you know that, and not every client's the same. I have had probably 4, maybe 5 phone calls from one of my new buyer clients, like new buyer, first time home buyer. And, he's got a lot of questions. And what's the next step? Yeah. Even though I've told him what to do, I've literally put it out black and white. This is the next step. This is what you need to do. And I even said hey, this needs to be done today. Can you make that happen? And I give him the task list, because all these things you can do in a simple phone call or something, and it takes you 35 minutes out of your 24-hour day to get it done. It's more just pushing somebody to do it. Yeah. And so he calls me 4 or 5 times. Well, what if I just didn't answer my phone? You know what I mean? Think about that in a perspective to where how that makes somebody feel. And so that's one thing that's frustrating with me when I'm working with big teams or something on real estate transactions. And of course there's the head of the team on a listing that you have an offer presented on, but the actual getting to talk to someone rather than the front desk. Oh, we'll redirect you somewhere. We've all done it. We've sat on the phone lines with our bank companies, our insurance providers, and you hear the elevator music, it's come on. There's this disconnect in relationship. And so I think that's huge value, whether it's a $100,000 transaction or $1 million transaction. The value really is consulting somebody into their future purchase.
It's true.
Or sale.
It's true. It's like working with a lending company. I will not name any names because I don't want to badmouth anyone. But there is a particular lending company that is a big franchise, corporate, and it's very difficult to get a hold of. It's just fun. So different than working with a personal local lender who will actually answer the phone and hold your hand. Right. Okay, so the reason that we wanted to talk about this topic of what today's title will be,
that was just
today's
episode,
talking,
by the way.
That was just our little intro. Just our little intro. Yeah. By the way, if you're new and you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell. We do come on here every single week, so hit the notification bell, and also go to the link in the description and subscribe over on Spotify. You can listen over there as well. However, we wanted to talk about this topic today because, as the holidays, and we everybody asks us, because we're real estate agents, everywhere we go, this is a question we hear all the time in this particular housing market. But I think in a lot of housing markets they ask this question, but in different ways, and we'll get into that.
I don't know if it's a topic of conversation or
we'll get into that.
If they're actually curious about the housing market.
Both, but I think people genuinely want to know. People are asking, who in the world is buying right now? Are people really buying right now? And I think that they're asking that because they see these crazy housing market headlines saying how expensive it is. They see how high home prices are, and that it's valid. Right. It does seem like, oh my gosh, who is buying right now? Who is buying this $500,000 house, and that's what you're getting for $500,000? Who's doing that?
I do find myself asking that too.
However, you guys, we just lived through, I think this is also important to explain. We just lived through the worst housing market by worst, I mean, there were fewer transactions. So harder for real estate agents than even 2008. There were fewer transactions over the last 2 years than even in 2008 when all these people were getting out of the business and whatever. So I think it was the worst since, what was the statistic? Like 1970 or 80 or something like that. So it has been a very long time that we have seen this low of number of transactions, which is obviously very difficult for real estate agents. I just feel like I need to make that point because people always ask us like, oh, what are you going to do when it's a bad market? Like it's not a real career. Like this is our business. This is our only income. It has been our whole adult life. It's been 10 years now. Like we lived through the worst housing market since the 80s or before. Like we're going to be okay. However, I just disclaimer like because it annoys me when people treat it like it's not a legitimate
practice,
career, business. You know what I mean? It is. But anyway, however, my whole point though is, yes, there's less people buying, and there has been. I think that things have changed since then. There's more people buying right now than there was like a year ago, 2 years ago. However, it's still not 2020 or 2019 or 15, when the year I got into the business, when everybody was buying, interest rates were super low. It was a great time to buy. So we're going to talk about that discussion. Who is buying right now?
Who is buying right now?
Who's buying?
Man.
I'll tell you who I'm seeing buying, and I want to see who you're seeing buying. Exactly. And then we have some statistics that I made for you guys of who is buying statistically.
Make sure that paper's readable. But
I typed it. It's readable. I didn't write it out.
Okay. When you ask me, I'll answer it kind of.
Who's buying, Spencer?
How? Oh, okay. Because like whenever you put on the spot like that.
But do you want me to go first? Because I can.
No,
I know
no,
who's
no,
buying.
No. I like who's buying because it's people probably like me too. I guess you're scrolling on social media and you just see all of these like nasty headlines.
Yeah.
And I think that really draws that question even more because it makes people that, are normal people, have 9-to-5 jobs, like who is buying right now, or you're a renter and you're stuck in a rental market and you can never seem to have enough funds to put down as a close. Who's buying right now? So like that's the related audience I think about when answering this question. Mm-hmm. I think the people that are buying right now are people that's willing to ask questions, but scope out a deal that works for them. I was just listening to another real estate podcast, a real estate update for the month of April in 2025. And he said on average throughout our nation here in America, is you're getting a sales price accepted generally about 4% under ask price. 4%. Now, he related it to, well, that means closing costs could be being paid for, your buyer's agent's commission. Those type of fees are included in that percentage below the sales price, which was like kind of eye-opening for me because I started thinking about it, and I think about the offers that I'm writing for my clients to get them the best value, and that was pretty accurate. I mean, about a year and a half ago, I would say getting my buyers, a savings of 20 plus grand, pretty unheard of. Yep. Pretty unheard of. Now, in this market, I'm like willing and able to negotiate just about up to and more than that. Because the average, closing costs just in our areas, you can just look at it as like 14 grand. So
depends on your home price, but yeah.
Yeah. So think about this though. Like who is actually buying? Well, it's people that are working, they're employed. You got to have employment to buy a house. I think we all know this. Okay.
Yep.
I still have first time home buyers that just like scrape by with that bottom credit line of like 650 and they're still buying. Now, is the price range where some people might say is livable for them? No. So they're going to be looking more into the manufactured home sides of things. And so that demographic is still buying those, my whole point.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing it on different levels. And I mean, there's people that are afraid. There's people that are afraid to overpay.
But what I've found, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Even though I just did. Anyway,
You're fine.
What I found is that there's people afraid to buy in every market, because I remember having clients when it was the best time in history to buy. Interest rates were record low and people were terrified to buy because because interest rates were so low, you had to offer like 50 grand over ask to get something accepted, and it was multiple offers. So like every housing market, there's going to be a reason to be scared to buy.
And
Continue.
That's kind of my whole point, I think, because when you're living in markets, whether it's real estate related or not, I mean, you could look at the stock market too. Like in comparisons, you can say, well, when's a good time to buy and when's a good time to sell? You know, everybody says, oh, sell high, buy low, right? It's going to make you the most money in the long run. My thing is, when there's an opportunity in front of you, you take it, because not everybody's in the same situation as yourself. And unless you're getting your ducks in order and have a pre-qualification because you've already spoken with a lender, and your lending team is aware of your financials, they have your W-2s, they have your verification of employments and credit drawn, then we could just be hanging out for like 4, 5, even 8 months waiting for the right option to purchase. And that's kind of like where a good buyer's agent's coming in, but also you guys. I mean, everybody's out there on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com. Like, they're scoping a home that they're like, oh my gosh, this is the area that works for me. This is what I wanted to buy. There's an acre of property. I could do this. And so just because you had all your ducks in a line means you got the first jump. The house we're in right now, the house that Mariah and I bought 4 years ago, we were kind of that client. We were the people that were just like looking for a home that fit our needs, that we saw ourselves not living here forever, but
we could be happy in for like the unforeseeable future. Like, we didn't want to be in a position where like, oh, we have to sell in 2 years because it won't work for us. Like,
because we realized like our daughter's 2?
When we bought it.
She was like 2 then, maybe 1.5.
Yeah, she was like 1.
So like we looked at it as like, this is going to be a home that our child is going to grow up in. Mm-hmm. So we had our eyes set on the market. We understood in the market we bought in, there were so many homes overpriced. Like, and it wasn't a scary thing to throw out an offer on a home then. Why is it now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the big difference was interest rates were a lot lower.
Yeah.
And homes were overpriced, and they were getting like 20, 30,000 over ask price, waived appraisals, 0 inspections, as is buys.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I remember though, back then even, we had some very well-intentioned and very, not dumb people, like smart people about real estate, the housing market, whatever, advise us to wait. Gosh. We had many, many people telling us, hold on to your cash. You guys have a lot of cash right now because we just sold off another property and whatever. Like, hold on to your cash and wait. And I am so thankful that we didn't, because home prices went up, which we did not see coming. We were like, oh, they couldn't go up anymore.
We thought
home
everybody
prices
says
went up.
A bubble.
Yeah, everyone's been saying that since 2015. Home prices went up, but also interest rates went up. And like the best time to buy is when you can afford it and it makes sense for you. Who I'm seeing buying right now.
Which was our audience.
That was our, yes. Who I'm seeing buy right now is, I have seen so many first-time buyers. I've worked with so many first-time buyers this last year, way more than usual. And they are so excited to become homeowners. They're excited to not be paying expensive rent. Now, some of them, their rent is more than their mortgage. Some their rent is the same. Some their rent is even less, but they're still happy to buy because they know that they're investing in a home. They see the value of home ownership. And most of the home buyers I've worked with over the last year, not home buyers in general, most of the first-time buyers, I should say, that I've worked with over the last year, they have been buying very modest homes, because they're buying what they can afford. But I have seen these home buyers. I just got a picture, the other week from these home buyers I worked with. We closed a few months ago, and they sent me this picture. They bought this like 30s built home, very modest, like probably one of the lowest priced homes you could find on the market that's financeable with their loan type. Although it was financeable, it wasn't like a teardown, but it still needed a lot of work. But it was perfect for everything they needed, fit, whatever. And they're showing me what they're doing, and like, it looks so good. It's so awesome. They're just making it a little bit more custom to them, I guess you could say. So a lot of the buyers I'm working with they're buying modest houses, but they're very excited and grateful to not be renting anymore. Because here's the thing, rent is going to keep going up, you guys. Rent's not going down. And you're going to be paying to live somewhere. And I know, like, I feel like it's a very good thing to own real estate. Especially if you can hold it.
I mean,
like, buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate.
Like 5 years ago versus now. Think about those home prices. Like the first time home buyers, I remember when it was a struggle, like getting a buyer under contract. They gave me a price of like $230, $245, and just to get that client a home, it was kind of like what you just described, though. It was an older build, A-frame roof. I mean, just old, and they have to understand, like, they're going to fix it as they live there, and that's why it's valued where it's at right now in order to buy. But if they would have held off, there's just no way, like, and your income hasn't increased by that much 5 years later, to get you the minimum. I'd say, like, getting anything even in the threes seems so hard. Like 380 has become the old, like, 245.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's nothing for 245. Not even in the twos.
Like you're talking manufactured home and parks.
But I think this is the new world we live in.
I know.
And another reason why I am seeing right now being a good time to buy is because buyers are actually getting sellers to pay for, not always, but sometimes they're paying for their closing costs, or at least some of them. We're seeing buyers write under ask price offers. We're seeing sellers negotiate repairs. And like I said earlier, there's pros and cons to every housing market. Well, if interest rates do drop, which I don't see them dropping like drastically.
If we get in the fives, like, you just go run, be happy in a five.
It's going to be the sellers, the ball's in the seller's court more, you know what I mean? So everyone always says, like, marry the house, state the rate, you can refinance, whatever. This statistic right here says every 1% interest rates drop adds about 4 million more potential buyers into the housing market. So I do think it's important to understand, when weighing the pros and cons of buying now versus waiting, that waiting could mean will mean, if interest rates drop, more buyer competition.
Right.
Meaning that pushes prices up more because multiple offers, that type of thing.
In comparison, like, we're talking about interest rates right now. I just got an offer yesterday on one of our sellers' properties. It was one of those offers where they sent in what they were willing, pretty far under ask price. Who knows if we'll put it together. But there's just something really interesting here, and it's their interest rate. This is a common, everyday one income household. And I think it's value. So this is where interest rates are near right now. Let's see. They're sitting at a their pre-approval usually says an interest rate on it. They're sitting at a 6.25. 6.25.
So I want to know, what are you seeing?
Like, that's a 6 though. So think about that. Like, when they go down into the 5s, you just mentioned how many? 4 million?
Yep, 4 million for every 1% drop.
Okay, so I do see us by the end of the year, like, we're hovering in a 5. We're hovering near the 5s, but they're not 5. It's high 5s, near 6. So as soon as somebody sees a 5, because they'll refinance if they ever hit 4 again. But it's gonna be a different market though when an interest rate drops.
Absolutely. More competitive for buyers.
Yeah.
And what I want to know from you is, so those buyers, they're buying your listing, which is a very, it's like a higher priced, luxury for our area listing. Now, they are move up buyers, correct?
They're moving up, yeah. So they're selling off equity they bought with in 2020.
And they bought in 2020. And they have a very large amount of equity, which is one of the ways that they can justify buying right now is putting a very large amount down. And I think that's what we're seeing with the move up buyers. Now, a lot of people that would be or want to be move up buyers are waiting. How long? I don't know, because we don't know if or when things are going to change for those low, you know what I mean? The people that are locked in with their interest rate, like, I don't know.
It's all justification.
It's all justification. But
here's the deal. These people, I would say they on top of have equity on their home, like that's a given. They're selling that property. But they're like savers. We're talking like Dave Ramsey. Like we're saving to move up. Yeah. Because the average like mortgage holder that I see, they're like having mortgages of $380,000 to $420,000, you know? So on a 30-year fixed loan, that's why you're seeing average mortgage rates that people are paying. They're like $2,800 to $3,200 because of their loan amounts. But when you're doing like a resale to upgrade or just exchange houses, you got to remember when you're a first-time home buyer, guys, is you're buying into a housing market. Think of it as like a savings account or a CD account, right? On top of that, you're getting tax deductible, you know, interest rates that you get to deduct at the end of the year, which is like you'll get $8,000 to $14,000. Excuse me, depending on what your interest is and your loan amount is. But so there's a benefit. It's all about that resale value though for when it's the right time for you to buy. So that's why if you never get into the housing market and you're stuck as a tenant occupying in this rut of like, man, I'm just never going to do it. There's loan programs out there. There are. And
$0 down, 3% down. You don't need 20% down.
And you're probably not gonna be able to buy the Taj Mahal. Okay, we got to understand this. But after 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it may be for you, you can gain an equity, which is, I mean, on average nationally, you're going to get minimum 3%, you know, in your home's equity year over year. Yeah. We were living through an age where it's like 8-12% during this last housing like increase, and that's why everything's so unaffordable.
The best advice, if I were to tell myself when I was like as young as possible, which I'm extremely grateful the doors opened for us to be able to buy a property when we were first married, which we were pretty young when we were married, because we didn't realize at the time how much that would change our lives, because that one house had we were just living through a time where homes appreciated more than they literally ever had in history. So that one house led to the equity.
The very beginning.
Yes, led to this. He sold his Jeep, which was what gave us and then a dirt bike, which gave us the down payment for the first house, which was very modest. And then in that first house was able to lead us to the next house and then to this house. But all of those homes had so much equity, and now we have so much equity, and like that equity was literally because of the timing that we bought, and like we couldn't have planned that. But the advice I would give to myself as young as possible, to my kid when they're 18, or anybody, is like literally make it your goal. Do whatever you can to just buy something, and that if that is a 500 square foot condo in not the best side of town that's built in the 70s, and that's what you can afford, it's, you know, $180,000, buy that. Literally just buy it, and then maybe fix it up as you go.
No equity.
Yes, just even if it's not where you want to live, it's not ideal, do it. That's what I would say, because like I said, it has been the biggest blessing financially in our lives, and has literally changed our financial life and will for the rest of our lives, because we just bought the first house, and I didn't realize how powerful that was. But I also want to end with something. Because I know as realtors, we always talk about like, because we really believe in real estate. We really believe in investing in real estate. I know from my eyeballs, from getting in real estate when I was 18, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about homeownership is because from the time I was 18, I was meeting with sellers, so many sellers and buyers, but so many home sellers. That's really what I specialized in working with at first. Yeah. And I would go into these homes and I would have these conversations with these clients, and I just saw with my eyes how much owning real estate, even if it was just one home, just the home they lived in, because many of them were older people, they'd owned it for a long time, just how much that literally changed their life. And that made me just believe in owning real estate, buy real estate and hold it, just own real estate. That it made me believe in that so much because I saw that with my eyes. And so while we have very strong opinions on that, obviously, I also don't want anyone to, I don't know what the right word is, I guess just feel like left behind or left in the dust, or like they'll never be able to own if they don't buy right now. Because I think there's always going to be opportunity in real estate. And while things change, markets change, like I don't want anyone to be like scared into like, oh, if I don't buy, that sucks, I can't buy right now. Like in tomorrow's market, there'll be more buyer competition. Like that might be true, but you'll be able to make it work. Like there's pros to every market is what I'm trying to say. There's good things about every housing market, and like you'll be able to make it work. I really believe that.
Say you're a first-time home buyer, Mariah. Where do I start?
You start by calling me. Or emailing. Actually, start by emailing me. That's where I direct all my clients, or Spencer, or
and
both.
I didn't plan on it going there.
You start by emailing us. That is the very first step in the buying process. Whether you need to buy tomorrow and you're ready to go, we have clients like that. Reach out, or you're like 5 years down the road. Like I said, the buyer closed on today. He reached out 3 years ago. We had a conversation. We were just talking about that at their house. How he reached out 3 years ago, wasn't able to buy yet, but I was still happy to talk to him and help. And that's the first step. And we will point you to a solid lender in our area.
That's the
and
key.
Get the ball rolling.
I think it's going to be checking in with that solid lender.
Mm-hmm.
So you're aware of how and what you need to do to make this happen, because sometimes there is a waiting game, and maybe it's for a few months until things clear up on a credit report, or until you have officially made that appropriate work of employment period for you to be fully qualified.
But if you have that goal of being a homeowner too, speaking of being with a lender, if you have that goal, you're like, someday I want to own a home. I don't think I can make it work today, but I want to be a homeowner. I see the value in it. If you don't talk to a lender today, you have no idea what to be saving for, what to be expecting, what to be preparing for. And like, you're not just going to magically have $20,000 more that you need, if you're on a single income, maybe like, you're not just going to magically have that in 2 years, because like you need to have goals and targets to be shooting for. You know what I mean? Like it's not just going to happen. So you have to talk to a lender, and they're going to help you get your ducks in a row. Yep. Yes.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for the sit down conversation.
Yeah.
It's been pretty laid back. I like it. Mm-hmm. And, to recap, I mean, what was today's title again?
Who is buying right now?
Who is
because
really
everyone
buying
keeps
right
asking
now?
us. And who is buying is a lot of first time buyers, but also move up buyers have a lot of equity.
Yeah, I would say that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
First time home buyers especially, they're just sick of renting.
Mm-hmm.
Just graduated college, nurses, they're making money finally.
Mm-hmm.
I want to buy something. That's kind of the mentality. And then it's the move up buyers. So people need to resell and up their real estate portfolio, if you will.
And if you did grab value from today's video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down button and comment below. We love chatting with you guys in the comments, and we'll see you guys next time.